You know this song? Here's the thing. We started out friends.
Kelly Clarkson?
Yes, because
Yes.
that's what I want to say to 2020. Since you've been gone, I can breathe for
Oh,
the first time.
oh, honey.
Okay, so before we get into that, I want to ask you a question. Do you know what twists my nipple?
I don't want to know. Tell me anyways.
People who think that they can just come and twist my nipple. Now, I am a
Excuse me?
man. No, that has happened to me many a time. My fellow homosexuals have this idea that just because you're also gay, you can just touch my body as
Oh,
if you have any kind of right to do so. So
no. No,
when I used to
no.
go out to the clubs and things, or just out, and
Mm.
I'd see friends, or maybe even just drunk people, they would just touch my chest. Now, I am a man that has a bit of a, there's some meat to my chest, okay? And when I work out, that also responds, like it grows. There's
Mm-hmm.
a level of muscle, a little bit of fat. It's a nice little situation.
Mm-hmm.
And so, of course, my nipples are also prominent. So people just feel like they can touch, fondle, twist, whatever the fuck, with my nipples, my body. Like, what gives you the right? Just because you're also gay doesn't mean that I want to be touched. It's, yeah, I don't know.
This is
It's
not
just
where I thought your intro was leading to.
it was supposed to be something else, but then I thought of that, and
Mm.
that makes me really fucking angry. Honestly, that's close to harassment, sexual harassment,
No,
isn't
that
it?
is harassment.
Yeah. So
It's
I don't know.
unwanted and they didn't ask, and
It's
you don't like it, then it's
for me
harassment.
exactly. It's the same thing like how a gay guy touches like a woman's breast or her ass, and then go, "Oh no, it's okay, I'm
It's
gay."
okay, I'm gay. No, that's not the problem here. The problem is like, I don't want you to touch me.
I don't want you to fucking touch me. Oh, like, I don't understand what goes through people's
Yeah,
heads.
consent
Yeah.
is lacking. That reminds me though of like the thing, like it was someone on Twitter that said guys that are afraid of like gay men coming on to them are afraid that like other men will treat them the same way they treat women.
Oh my god, that is so
Because your
true.
fear that someone else is going to like come into your personal space and like touch you or interact with you in a way that you don't want, that is unwanted and sometimes scary. Like how is that, how are you not seeing the parallels here?
Exactly. It reminds me of, again, on a night out, I was with my friend Christy, and it was right before she was leaving Korea. And we were coming from the clubs and walking home. We ran into this guy that asked us for a light because he wanted to smoke.
Mhm.
Christy gave him a light, and we're talking, and he's like, "Oh, you guys a couple?" And I'm drunk, and I was like, "No, girl, I'm gay."
Mhm.
And then he's like, "Oh, cool, just like don't touch me." And I was like,
Oh, I wasn't going to touch you.
first of all, you are not my type. Not even close. You're not even someone to look at, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And so, like, the audacity to think that every gay guy just wants to touch another guy.
We could go on
Anyway,
and on about this.
yeah, we can go on, and that's not what we are planning to discuss. It is just a pet fucking peeve of mine when people twists my areolas. Okay, so today I'm coming to you in the spirit of Chloe and Halle's recent Honda stage performance.
Oh.
They wear these green outfits and their hair is just like amazing and their vocals are just on point because in 2020, if you think about it, like in entertainment, black women totally showed up and carried and gave us just culture and good feels from Beyonce to Chloe and Halle to Megan Thee Stallion
Janelle
to
Monáe.
Janelle Monáe
She was
to
the fly that
oh,
landed on Mike Pence's head for Halloween. She queen, creative queen.
that was fucking amazing. And to also to all the black women who were a very large part of the protests, the Black Lives Matter stuff
Yeah.
that happened. Yeah, like because it was largely black women who showed up.
Voter
Also, black women
turnout.
voter turnout.
Stacey Abrams
Honestly, so like 2020 belongs to the black woman.
carry the fucking team. I am the human embodiment of that dangerous exhilaration you get when you start binging a show and you realize you're obsessed. Because I recently started watching Bridgerton. Thank you, Shonda Rhimes. Again, more black women carrying the team.
I don't know that show.
It's on Netflix now. It's
Oh,
really bad, but in the best way
you
possible.
should not have told me that. You should not have. Because A, I'm a huge fan of Shonda Rhimes. And then I'm trying to limit my Netflix use, which has been very, very successful since starting the podcast. Hmm.
Things are about to change.
I'm also thinking of like canceling my Netflix subscription.
Don't do that.
All right, everyone, welcome to today's episode. I think we're talking about what, DJ?
We are talking about decluttering your space physically and emotionally.
I think it's a good way to start with like decluttering and how that works for us, like physically and psychologically.
So just seeing all these like huge piles of garbage everywhere, it's
Yeah.
a little bit reassuring to know like everyone kind of meets the new year in in a similar way.
Yeah.
We're all trying to focus on like getting rid of the old and making way for like making space for new things to
And I
come.
really hope that carries on throughout the year because you know how people are like January 1st and there's like new me and whatever.
New
And
year,
that
new
lasts for
me.
like, I don't know, 5 hours and then
Yeah.
it's all the same again.
Like, oh, your 2 week free trial has ended. Back to the old me.
Oh my God, that is literally how it is. It's
Yeah.
a 2 week free trial and they're like, I'm not paying for this.
No, I don't have the money for this. Back to the old habits.
Yeah, that's the thing with habits. It's like, again, referencing that Atomic Habits book, like it is something that you need to do every single day. What do you think the problem is with like decluttering?
Decluttering. So, I don't know if you've seen Marie Kondo, the show
Yep.
on Netflix about decluttering your life, decluttering your space, but she talks about how we're afraid to let go of things that have been holding space in our closets or in our lives for a long time because of like sentiment or what that means to us. But holding on to those things might be impeding other opportunities coming to you or like preventing you from really having like the emotional peace of a clean space or a clean closet or a clean desk.
Before the Marie Kondo thing, like maybe 6 years ago, I realized that when I'm in, let's say, a volatile state of emotion, or like I like to call it, I'm untidy, and I mean like emotionally, then my physical space reflects that.
Same.
Like I get home and where I take my clothes off, that's where they stay. Where I slice the bread, that's where the crumbs remain. Where anything that I do, I just leave it right there. If I open a closet, it stays open. Now, this is kind of a habit that I brought from childhood, despite having moments or long periods of like obsessive perfectionism. I'm not saying OCD, I'm just saying like my room was so clean, so perfect, so exquisitely organized that if you came into my room and you just touched one thing, I
You
would
would know.
immediately know. So I oscillated between complete like that perfectionism but also clutter. And I think both are a representation of your psychological state. I know that when my life feels out of control and my space is unorganized, it's even easier to slip into depression or anxiety.
Yeah.
But when I take the time to organize my space, it does help me manage my anxiety.
And I think that goes back to like feeling or being in control of your surroundings and feeling like you have this effect on like your output, like what you're doing.
Mm.
Because if you clean your room, you can visually see those changes in
Yeah.
what's around you, and it's comforting to have a clean space.
It is really comforting because it gives you a sense of control. Because, like, anxiety is that part of anxiety is that feeling of not having
Yeah,
control
of disorder.
over anything. Normally, we don't have control over outside, like other circumstances, but you can control the space you're in.
Yeah.
So, making sure that things are in order and decluttered does really have an effect, a positive effect on your mental state. So, what is your relationship with clutter?
Generally, I would say I'm a pretty organized person. I like having things in categories and like I like making lists and then going through and like checking them off like
Right.
one by one. Similar to you though, and I think similar to a lot of people, like
Mm.
once I start getting frazzled or like start getting like overwhelmed with work or with like personal life relationships and everything, then you see that in my room.
Ah,
Like bed is not made, like clothes are just kind of like hanging out of drawers or like off of shelves. Like if I shower and then I come back in my room, wherever the towel drops is where it's
it's
staying until
right
the next day.
there.
And then I'm like, oh, maybe this goes in the laundry or maybe not.
Just I'll do it later.
Yeah.
I find that when I haven't managed my time properly in terms of work or just life or anything, then to make up for that mismanagement, I declutter
You clean your room.
just so that I can feel better and then tackle the task.
I do
Now,
that.
that is also a kind of procrastination. It's almost like you have to study and you're like, you know what? I need some fresh air. Let me open this window. Oh, wait, these dishes need to get washed. Or I'm just going to reorganize my closet. Like, you don't need to do all that. You need to focus on your work. So, for me, sometimes decluttering is teachers on like procrastination and also creating a sense of control so that I can tackle the task I'm supposed to be doing instead of decluttering.
Ivor, why would you attack me like this? It came out of nowhere.
I'm just being
Because,
honest.
yeah, because when I was writing my thesis, it's probably like the biggest variations in the state of my room from just ridiculously messy
Yeah.
and like papers everywhere spilling out of like every little shelf and then going from that
Yeah.
to just you could probably eat off of the floors clean.
You go into these cleaning fits.
Yeah.
So you have to limit how much time you declutter, like how much time you spend
Yeah.
decluttering. Otherwise, you can spend the whole day and then you get tired. So like I think we should separate decluttering and cleaning. That's two
I
different
go by
things.
categories. So when I'm trying to approach it as like, oh, I'm just gonna declutter a little bit to get in like a stable or like a happier mindset to do the work I'm supposed to,
Mm-hmm.
I'll be like, oh, I'm just gonna do this section of papers, or I'll do this set of drawers and like just reorganize my socks and whatever clothes.
Yeah, that's a great tip. I was actually going to say that. It's
Yeah.
like in the past, I used to do what my mom used to do. Like she would decide to like clean everything and declutter and then it just becomes so much work. You get exhausted and then you don't do it properly
And then the
and
next
then you
time you
give
end up
up.
putting it off because you're
You
like,
put it
oh, it's gonna
off.
be a huge hassle to do
Yeah.
all this work.
So I have learned to like let's say you need to see declutter your clothes or whatever, and then you decide, okay, I'm gonna do pants today, and stick to just that one thing. If you see some trash or whatever, leave it there until the end. Do a basic cleanup and be like, okay, I spent 1 hour decluttering my closet. That's a euphemism, isn't it?
Decluttering.
And okay, so you've spent 1 hour decluttering your closet. I've cleaned up a bit, and then stop. Like take 1 hour and then stop, because it does give you a sense of accomplishment.
Yeah, and you can look at the new space you've cleared up and be like, I've made these changes and I can see these changes.
So, how do you feel after you've decluttered?
I feel more motivated usually.
Exactly, that is like psychologically what happens. I read this thing online from psychology.com, I think, about the effects of decluttering, and that is one of the side effects or the results is that motivation or that feeling of accomplishment that then bleeds into other things that you can apply to, like you did probably
Yeah.
to your thesis or your or like other areas of your life. Like because you've gotten something accomplished, it like stimulates your reward
Reward pathways.
yes, reward pathways, and that's a good feeling. It releases serotonin, and you can consciously use that, direct it into a positive
Productive
productive
way.
yeah.
Yeah. I think that's the reasoning behind why you should make your bed in the morning
That is exactly
is
it.
because you start your day off with like this small little accomplishment and that builds you up for doing the things that you actually need to do that day.
I totally agree with you, and I've always seen it like imagining my brain like a computer in the morning, and whatever I choose to do first, that is part of the foundation for the rest of my
Right.
day.
You're setting
So
up a
if I
pattern.
choose organization for the day, then for me, my day runs smoother
Mm-hmm.
because my brain is now set up in this, is loaded with this program of like organization.
Mm-hmm.
If I get up late and I have to throw out my clothes and I have to take a quick shower and it's a mess when I leave, my whole day seems to run just like a mess the whole time.
It feels clunkier.
Yeah, it feels
Yeah.
clunkier, it feels longer, it feels more exhausting.
So speaking of like exhausting and setting up your day or
Mm-hmm.
setting up your kind of mood,
Mm-hmm.
how do you feel about decluttering emotionally or
Ooh, I
psychologically?
don't even know what to say. I mean, I do because there's so much to say, but I want to keep it concise. Is that how I declutter emotionally? Is I always examine my breath first, and I come back to this many times. If my breath is erratic or not focused or like um, intermittent,
Mm-hmm.
then I know I have something on my mind that I'm not like conscious of.
Yeah.
And the best way, or my advice, that one can declutter your mind is, and also I've said this before, is journal. You need to organize the thoughts in your mind. Like journaling is writing, and writing is your ability to organize your thoughts. Our thoughts and feelings get so jumbled up, and that also contributes to anxiety and depression. So I think that one has to engage in some sort of spiritual practice, whether it be meditation, but also combine that with getting your feelings, your thoughts out on paper. Because there is a relief, there is a physical thing that happens where it feels like it's leaving your mind
Mm-hmm.
and creating a sense of organization and space within your psyche or your brain. Now, I'm not an expert at this, but this is just my experience, and it does help me manage my emotions. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense to me because, like, one of the things that I started doing after therapy is like a feelings, emotions kind of flow chart
Mm-hmm.
where you look at, like, when you start having negative feelings or you start realizing that you're, feeling some type of way about something that just happened
That you didn't know.
that you weren't fully aware of, you write down, like, what are the feelings that I'm associating this with,
Mm-hmm.
what set it off. I'm missing one component, but basically just looking at the event and looking at the feelings, but from like an outside third person type perspective.
Yeah.
So
So
you can more closely examine, like, why am I in this mood?
so kind of like trying to be objective.
Yeah.
Yeah. There are many resources about journaling, and I used to do the morning pages, which I'm getting back into it also. So
Mm-hmm.
morning pages basically is you doing like a brain dump, 3 pages long. You just write until 3 pages are finished, and then you stop.
Mm-hmm.
But I would recommend people to like YouTube Tim Ferris and journaling, and look at the way that he journals. And he has many different types of journals, from the 5 minute journal to the 3 page, I mean, the morning pages.
Mm-hmm.
And choose one that you think will be beneficial for you and try that. But try it for like at least 5 days. Like wake up, spend like 15 minutes and do your journaling and actually see how your day goes. Like, does it make a difference to how you are able to manage your emotions during the day?
Mm-hmm. 3 pages sounds intimidating to me. So
Well,
I would probably go with like mindfulness exercises,
mm,
like something where you can time yourself for maybe just like 5 minutes to start off the day,
mm,
where you just sit down and you like focus on your breathing or focus on like your surroundings and your body and how you're
yeah,
feeling physically and emotionally, and then use that to start off the day.
that is actually beautiful because I used to do like the Headspace meditation
Mm-hmm.
app. So when I feel like it's becoming too overwhelming for me, then I use that app. Or I don't know if you've ever heard of Wim Hof.
No.
Basically, he's like this guy that is like an expert on like breathing techniques
Oh.
and does some crazy shit, from like being a like breathing a certain way and then jumping into like freezing water and then regulating
Oh
his
my
body
God.
temperature through breathing. Now in the summer I did do an experiment and tried that on myself, did this breathing exercise, and then was able to take cold showers by just preparing my breathing, and how that works on your parasympathetic nerves.
Nervous system.
Yeah. And how the health benefits are insane. I should get back into that with winter. I don't know if I'll be able to take a cold shower, but if I can get to that stage of taking cold showers in winter, I will be superhuman.
Invincible.
Invincible. Call
Yeah.
me Beyonce.
Yeah. So, I mean, like, obviously, I don't think focusing on your breathing and mindfulness and journaling, like, they're not like a cure all
Oh
for
no.
every emotion that you have, but
Yeah.
it's still a good, like, easy way to approach things.
You making an attempt at healthy mental health practices is also part of mental health. Like,
Yeah. It's part of self care. It's getting in touch with yourself and your feelings.
and you're taking control over your being, and that's a huge step in managing your emotions, is you understanding, realizing that actually I do have control over the way I feel. So what did you do this week that was conducive to healthy mental practices? That's not the right way to phrase it, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, healthy. I decluttered. I like fully cleaned my room and
Dude.
it felt amazing because like all of the things that had been piling up while I was writing and revising my thesis and, you know, preparing to present and doing all of the paperwork, I was just like, just wait till it's done, just wait till it's done. And then it was finally done and I'm like, oh, I can clean now. So I did like papers, all of the old like readings I had that I wasn't sure if I should throw away or not. Now I can just throw them all out.
Just throw the,
Throw
isn't that
everything out. It feels so good.
this week was focused very much on decluttering and yoga. And the success that I've had with that has put me in a really, really great mood, or it helped me regulate my emotions more because the thing that happened in 2020 that had a big effect on my life still carries on, and I think it will be for a long time.
Yeah.
So I do need to be conscious of engaging in practices to help me, and definitely decluttering and just the small strides you do or you achieve like in yoga is just it makes me feel so great.
Yeah, and there's catharsis in that. You feel like you're releasing this like emotional and physical burden.
Yeah. I'd like to shout out my friend Winsome like I did last week, but this time she has been extremely aware that I wasn't in a good space. So she brought me little gifts like 3 times this week, and
Aw.
it has been really, she's been really nice. It's been
So sweet.
so Winsome, I thank you for listening every time you bake. And she said that basically like she listened to our podcast while she bakes, so now she bakes every week and like listens to us. So thank
I
you,
love
Winsome.
it. We're becoming part of her routine too.
Right? So thank you so much for listening, Winsome. I really appreciate you. Okay, so many people know that I'm very direct. So when I come to a friend's place and it is cluttered,
Messy.
I will put on the gloves and I will immediately start like decluttering their
Immediately.
space, like just a little bit, even if it is washing the dishes. So if you have no chill like I do, if there's one friend that needs to hear about decluttering, send them our episode.
If you want to have a hard conversation with someone and you don't know how to start, send them the episode.
Send them us. We are very direct and we don't know them. And if they get the hint, yes, great. If they don't, oh well, you tried.
You tried. Thanks for listening.
Bye-bye.
Bye.